All right, and let's go straight to news making rounds from the home front. First of all, in your speech delivered on Thursday, September 18th, President Samuel Sako of the Amazonian government denounced the 1961 plebiscite that led to the union of Southern Cameroons with the Republic of Cameroons, arguing it failed to meet international standards for decolonization. He emphasized that the option of full independence was deliberately excluded, and Britain's withdrawal on the 1st of October 1961 marked not the end of colonization, but a transition into a new form of denomination under the Cameroonian state. President Sako criticized the process as a violation of the United Nations Charter and the right to self-determination, pointing out that Southern Cameroons, unlike other trust territories such as the Tanganyika and the Tongaland, already had a functioning democratic government and international autonomy. Yet, it was observed by another state without constitutional negotiation or a democratic mandate from its people. No federal constitution was ratified by Southern Cameroons, and the subsequent political arrangements were imposed without consent. President Sako warned against narratives that portray Cameroons as one and indivisible, saying they distort the historical and legal realities. He argued that the continued denial of Southern Cameroon's identity, institutions, and autonomy has led to marginalization, systemic oppression, and ongoing conflict. He also criticized both foreign powers and certain nationalist figures for failing to hold Britain accountable for mishandling the decolonization process. In a follow-up interview with journalist Paddy King, President Sako addressed the arrest of individuals involved in criminal activities within the Amazonian movement. He distinguished between legitimate resistance under international law and acts of organized criminality, stressing that the movement, Amazonian movement, does not condone attacks on civilian children or non-combatants. According to him, such actions only undermine the struggle and play into narratives designed to delegitimize it globally. President Sako concluded by reaffirming that the Amazonian cause remains grounded in international law and backed by fundamental principles of self-determination. He called for a new UN supervised negotiation process between Southern Cameroons and the Republic of French Cameroon, warning that without genuine dialogue, the conflict will persist. He stated that decolonization remains complete and that the struggle continues not just for political reasons, but because justice demands it. Now, let's get it clear of that.
Fellow Amazonians, before I came to this seat, I worked with President Ayub Tabe. We continued in the same spirit of a civil resistance that has the right to defend itself if facing imminent bodily harm. All of us who have been leaders and who are leaders will lead structures which have legal entities. None of these legal entities have been proscribed by the law of any country. If you know one, you can tell me, proscribed or labeled as a criminal organization. That is how laws are written. You don't break a law where there's no law anywhere in the world except what the propagandists are saying in Yaoundé. It is mere propaganda for La Republique to take advantage of whatever happens. Where we live, there are laws. There are laws in the United States. These individuals, right or wrong, have been arrested, investigated, indicted, and based on the information they have, they believe that crimes have been committed. When we started this escalation, I called them comrades, but sometimes one has to live longer to know who is a comrade and who was just a companion of convenience. These comrades are not just alleged to have committed crimes or violated the laws of the countries that they are. Most of the reasons why they have been indicted are for things that they owned, they claimed, and they took responsibility for those actions. So it's a confessional crime. But when people commit individual acts of criminality, the only thing I pray is that they are innocent. It's a false accusation. Because I know some who are locked up who are innocent. For that one, I want the law to apply so that they are released. But when people commit crimes or acts of criminality are committed, and people come out and beat their chest in broad daylight that they committed this act and that they are doing it as part of their warning to the people and so on, that is either stupidity or sabotage. The enemy will only promote the person who promotes their agenda. The person who promotes their strategy, that's the one they promote. Yeah. What's their strategy? Their strategy is to demarcate the struggle. Their strategy is to redefine the struggle, not as a political cause, but as an act of organized criminality, so that the war will turn against it. The truth will be buried and forgotten. They promote the person who is committing acts of criminality and who is taking ownership. So in your mind, you will say, okay, are these the people you are advocating for? Are these the people you want us to sit down and have a civil conversation with? These are all criminals. That is the narrative. And they will promote the face that will suit that narrative. In a state of war, every act of war is legitimate. What's the act of war? You make sure that you fight those who are fighting you. You don't attack the civilians. You don't attack the women and the children and the vulnerable and those who cannot defend themselves unless a civilian puts himself in a position working for the enemy forces and therefore he makes himself a target. Otherwise, an act of war is military to military. This government does not own people. Don't own those who fight in the bushes, trying to defend themselves, their properties, and their families. We are not a government that one day went to the streets and to the homes and recruited a bunch of people, went and trained them, and then armed them and said, go and fight. You are called soldiers. We are not that kind of government. Right now, we have people who have said enough is enough, like we have said it in the diaspora. Those people who just yield to pressure are people who are looking for something. We are not looking for something. The only thing we are looking for is what the people are looking for. The only time I will call a lockdown is when it makes sense. It makes sense because it makes sense to me. It makes sense to the government. It makes sense to the people that we are calling it for. It makes sense to the international community if I will offer my explanation. It makes sense anywhere that I am called up. The last defense line we have is the law, the court of law. And as long as we are acting within the law, because we are not ordering crimes, I have not ordered any criminal action. There's nobody in my government who is ordering crimes to be committed. That's not freedom. That's not a struggle. None can deny that we are at a turning point in our struggle right now. There is going to be a paradigm shift from this moment going forward. We're entering a new phase in our struggle where some things we were hoping for are becoming more and more inevitable. Yes, I mean the dialogue, the meaningful dialogue and negotiation that will be becoming more and more inevitable. And when you go to the international community, there's an air of compulsion right now that speaks to the things that need to be done because they have moved from accepting that we are right to the point where they are saying, how long? How long before a process is engaged for a permanent resolution of this conflict? And right now, that is the era we are entering.
Oh, well, just in case you missed that interview, that is a clip that you can hold on to or go straight to ABC platforms across all the socials to get all of the full interview.